Are you well?
Not mentally, but yeah, I'm well. I'm fine. Are you well?
I am.
Everything's good?
Everything's really good, actually.
Henry Cavill looks like the kind of man who could solve every problem facing humanity, but ask him one simple, polite question, and you may get the answer of a man trying to hide 3 emotional crises at once. That is what makes Henry so funny. He does not walk into an interview with a collection of prepared punchlines, and he never tries to steal the spotlight with loud comedy.
My nickname in school was Fat Cavill.
Bother to put these things. I think I just wet my panties.
Do not forget to like and subscribe, because nobody is unintentionally funny quite like Henry Cavill. Henry can turn into Clark Kent with nothing more than a pair of glasses. But instead of becoming mysterious or unrecognizable, he immediately looks like an office worker who has just learned the printer has broken again 5 minutes before a meeting. The remarkable thing is how completely Henry commits to the moment. He does not need to do anything big. One awkward posture and a perfectly serious expression are enough to make the entire studio laugh.
Where's Henry gone?
Henry's problem is that he looks far too perfect. So whenever he tries to explain whether Superman's body is real or fake, the conversation quickly becomes uncomfortable in a way only Henry can manage. He wants to answer honestly, but he also has no idea how to react when the person across from him begins treating his muscles like a scientific research project. The result is Superman looking like he is trying to prove that he is genuinely made of human flesh.
I know this is going to sound weird, but when you walk out, you look like you're wearing one of those fake muscle suits, like the little boys wear with all the foam muscles on them. Except I know they're not foam, they're actual human flesh, correct?
It's silicone.
Hold on, let me just... Yes, they are actual.
Even when he is asked about bringing back Superman's famous red trunks, Henry offers a solution that could turn the character into an entirely different kind of threat to Metropolis. He says it with such a serious face that it takes everyone a second to realize Henry has just proposed a version of the costume that no studio would ever be brave enough to approve.
All right, maybe something tasteful like a little red thong or something like that.
Yeah, just in the back.
Like, red thong sounds like the name of a villain from DC. I'm the red thong.
To create those perfect Superman scenes, Henry had to endure a dehydration routine so extreme that his body began developing powers the comic books never mentioned. Other heroes have super hearing or X-ray vision. Henry reached a state where he could sense water somewhere nearby, like an animal wandering through the desert.
You get to the point on the last day where you can smell water, like nearby.
After all those sacrifices, he still had to solve an even greater problem: how to convince children that the mustached man standing outside their door was really Superman and not an extremely suspicious stranger. Henry does not merely imagine the situation, he acts it out with such sincerity that the whole idea becomes even more disturbing.
Long enough? Why not? Hey guys, I'm Superman. Come get some sweets.
Ranger and Superman.
Henry also describes the most spectacular action scenes as though he were giving an end-of-day work report. Superman gets fired out of a chamber, lands in a park, and starts fighting. That is all. There is no epic description and no sense that the fate of the world is hanging in the balance. To Henry, it seems like nothing more than a slightly busy Tuesday on set.
Essentially, I've just been, I prefer to call it rebirthed rather than resurrected. I have been shot out of Genesis Chamber, and I've just landed here in Heroes Park, and the Justice League has come to me.
But behind the Man of Steel is someone who can spend hours building his own computer. To Henry, it is not a complicated technical project, it is simply Lego for adults, with the added possibility of accidentally burning down the house. He describes building a PC with the excitement of a child and the concern of an adult who has just remembered that every part is connected to electricity.
Plugging them in like adult Lego, and then hoping you don't blow up the house when you press the power button.
His greatest piece of technical advice is brutally simple. Instead of going online to ask strangers, try reading the instruction manual that came in the box. Henry says it with the mild disappointment of a man who has watched far too many people ignore the manual, break everything, and then run to the internet for help.
It's just reading the manual, which a lot of people don't do.
and they end up asking questions online, and people always respond with RTFM, and that's it.
If the custom PC does not prove Henry is a true nerd, his army of unpainted Warhammer figures certainly will. While other people hide embarrassing secrets deep in their past, Henry is haunted by the gray plastic models sitting silently on his shelf and judging him.
Within the confines of the hobby, we call it our grey pile of shame.
You gray pile of shame.
Yeah, because they start off grey, and I have a very large...
Henry talks about those models with the shame of a general who has abandoned his soldiers, but once the game begins, he quickly insists that winning is not the most important thing. At least that is what Henry wants everyone to believe. His expression and the way he corrects himself suggest that losing is still a very difficult experience for him to accept.
It's not about the losing.
It's about the winning?
It's about taking part, Jim.
I see. It's about the journey
It's very
along
British.
the way.
It's about winning or losing. It's about being there.
That seriousness does not disappear when Henry leaves the gaming table. Even an outdoor barbecue can become a formal ceremony, as long as nobody ruins the atmosphere with an apron. To Henry, it seems perfectly acceptable for a man to dress properly while standing in front of fire and smoke. But wearing an apron is somehow one step too far.
And do you dress like this when you barbecue?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, that time. Certainly.
Because it's very formal. I mean, you're not wearing an apron or anything like that.
Henry's mustache did not simply grow. It had to be shaped, directed, and trained every day like a difficult supporting actor. The way Henry explains it makes the mustache sound as though it has a will of its own and will return to its natural state the moment its owner stops paying attention.
You've got to... okay, so with the twirly whirly bit, if you just waxed it and did that, it wouldn't stay up. It would eventually, just throughout the day, go back to
really?
regular moustache, but long. And if you twirl it every day, then it'll naturally kind of sit in that direction, have a little curl up, and then you just...
Perhaps that is why Henry becomes especially confused by anything without a clear system. When Simon Pegg explains that one word can be used to describe almost any object, Henry immediately realizes that the English language is being held together by chaos. He repeats the idea as though checking whether he has heard it correctly. A world where one word can mean almost anything is clearly not a world Henry is ready to accept.
A colleague of mine, who uses a doofer for pretty much everything.
Doofer is a thing. It can be, if I said to Henry, pass me the doofer, I don't know what I'm going to get. It might be a remote control.
Yeah.
Instead of letting it go, he decides to investigate further, and one harmless expression quickly becomes an anatomy lesson nobody asked for. Simon only wants to explain a common phrase. Henry begins seriously analyzing the physical conditions required for that phrase to become literally true.
Dog's bollocks, or the smaller version, the mutt's nuts,
Or the cat's pajamas.
or the hands rounds, is basically the best
The best of
the
the
dog's
best,
bollocks.
yeah. Why dogs' testicles represent that, I don't know. But
I don't know. But if you see a dog with a really good pair,
everyone does remark on them.
yeah, because most dogs
You
unfortunately
see
have.
that dog's nuts?
Yeah, look at the size of that dog's bollocks.
Yeah, the dog's bollocks.
They're the dog's bollocks. If you have a dog and its testicles are intact and they're quite presented,
Yeah.
you might say, oh, they're the dog's bollocks, and you'd be literal there.
When Henry hears an expression involving onions, he does not simply accept that it means knowledge. He immediately suspects there must be a farmer and a complicated origin story behind it. In Henry's mind, language cannot simply exist without a logical explanation. If a saying mentions onions, then somewhere there must be a field.
No one's onions.
I tell you, I'll give you an example. Henry and I were on set of Mission Impossible Fallout, and we were talking about the character of Superman, which Henry portrays. And Henry began to list a number of comic books which Superman appears in. And I thought to myself, Henry knows his onions.
It's because I'm an onion farmer.
Henry then builds an entire ranking system for the words British people use to call someone foolish. Some are insulting, others are gentler, and apparently every level must be precisely defined. Only Henry Cavill could turn a few ordinary insults into a regulated language system with rules, shades of meaning, and something close to its own scoring system.
Your penis.
Yeah.
You say, ow, me knob, if you banged into a wall
Or don't be a knob.
Don't be a knob. If you think of all the penile epithets, they all have different meanings. Like if you're a prick, then you prick. You're a bit stupid. But then if you're a knob, you are stupid, but less. It's an affectionate kind of term. But it's nice if you're a bit of a knob. Like I'd say to you, oh, stop being a knob, Henry. And I wouldn't expect you to get offended. But if I called you a dick, then I'd be wrong, because you're not a dick. You're a lovely man.
Even when arguing with an American, Henry does not need to raise his voice. He simply gives a polite reminder about the history of traffic and waits for the other person to realize the problem. The humor is in that patience. Henry does not attack or argue. He quietly defends the other side of the road as though he represents the entire United Kingdom.
Yeah. The correct side of the road.
Yeah, the correct side of the road. Yeah. Either way you look at it.
The original
we
side
think
of the road,
of the right side of the road as the right side of the road. It's just, when you see the original side of the road, you mean what? You mean when...
But his calm is seriously tested when he has to read fan comments. Henry begins like a movie star interacting with admirers and ends like a man who has accidentally opened the wrong message in front of the entire company. You can almost see him realizing halfway through the sentence that he has gone too far, but by then it is too late, and the only thing Henry can do is keep reading as his embarrassment grows.
Facebook, though. I love that people, bother to put these things. I think I just wet my panties. Then this next person, I have the weirdest boner right now.
When he is compared to another silver-haired character, Henry tries to join the joke and somehow turns himself into a difficult diva on set. He begins with hesitation, continues with a random name, and ends by demanding that nobody make eye contact. Nobody knows where Henry is going, including Henry himself.
Just from looking at the clip today. Now, that's your character.
Geralt.
Geralt, okay. And then you've got the Khaleesi. And you've got the same hair as the Khaleesi, really.
We do.
Yeah.
I modeled myself off Khaleesi. I made people call me Khaleesi or Amelia on set. Because otherwise I was like,
Amelia,
no eye
nice.
contact, I want to be Amelia or Khaleesi.
When talking about Tom Cruise, Henry still cannot give a normal answer. He has to use the image of a damaged inflatable raft that gets repaired and immediately returns to work. The comparison is so strange that it almost makes no sense, yet somehow it describes Tom Cruise better than any serious explanation could.
If he bleeds, I have a feeling it'd be like when an inflatable raft bleeds. A little bit of air comes out, and then somebody comes and glues it, and then it's right back to work. Yeah.
Henry's standard for performing a stunt is also quite simple. As long as a mistake does not hurt an innocent person, he is willing to try. That is not exactly the safety policy an insurance company would want to hear. But to Henry, danger to himself still appears to be negotiable.
To Wade Eastwood, who is the stunt coordinator and second unit director, I said, any stunt that's not going to involve me killing anyone else if I get it wrong.
I see.
Serious? Potential.
Even Superman has limits. For example, Henry never got his motorcycle license because he once believed that passing the age of 30 might be too late to begin. He tells the story with the regret of a man who has just realized he stopped himself from gaining a skill that would have been extremely useful for the movie.
I was kicking myself at this point because about 2-3 years ago, I had not taken my license because I figured, I got excited about motorbikes. I was like, yeah, I want to take my license. And I thought, I'm 30 plus and I don't want to
start this now.
Stupid.
Yeah, right.
Before becoming Superman, Henry missed out on several major roles, but instead of presenting it as an inspiring journey, he describes himself as the man who became famous for never getting the job. It is the kind of self-mockery that only works when delivered with a completely serious face. Henry turns a long series of professional disappointments into a questionable branding strategy.
It was like, no, didn't get it again. It's great. But it's great for my profile. I'm the guy who never works.
That ability to make fun of himself may have begun at school, where Henry's nickname was built on logic so simple and direct that it was almost impossible to argue with. He does not try to soften the story or rewrite the past. Henry simply admits that the name was accurate in terms of both his surname and his size.
My nickname in school was Fat Cavill, which was a very apt nickname, considering my name was indeed Cavill and I was indeed fat.
Even Henry's criminal past is incredibly wholesome, taking a piece of chewing gum as a child, feeling guilty, and returning it before he had the chance to enjoy the stolen goods. It may be the only robbery in history that ended with the criminal voluntarily returning the evidence because he could not handle the moral pressure.
Has Henry Cavill ever shoplifted, and if so, what did he get?
Yes, I think I was 6 and it was chewing gum and I felt so guilty I gave it back.
Before you chewed it or after?
Growing up with 4 brothers also taught Henry that muscles do not guarantee you will be the most intimidating person in the house. Sometimes they only give your younger brothers more reasons to make fun of you. When the oldest brother became angry, the younger ones did not run away. They chose to irritate him even more with a nickname that matched his size.
At number 4, you must then get really strong and tough because are your brothers all built like you are?
We're all of a similar size.
Big guys,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, but I was smart. I never picked battles with them. My oldest brother was 4 years older than me. So he was considerably larger and incredibly strong. Simon, he was so strong that we would make fun of him by saying Hulk smash every time he got angry.
And when Henry had to choose an American football team, he could not simply pick one with a good-looking logo. He started with Superman, followed the trail to Kansas, and turned a sports decision into a search for destiny. It is a chain of logic that is both reasonable and completely unnecessary. But once Henry begins explaining, he is determined to take everyone all the way to the end.
Okay, so I spend a lot of time over here, obviously, and I've been watching some American football. I started to like the sport, and I realized I had to choose a team. And the only way I could choose a team was with something that was never going to change. So it wasn't going to be my buddy likes this team or whatever it may be. So I figured the one thing which won't ever change in my life is the Superman aspect. And I figured Superman's from Kansas. The Chiefs, people in Kansas support the Chiefs. It just all added up.
So you just kind of said like, oh, if Superman was a football fan...
Oh, he'd definitely be a Chiefs fan.
He'd be a Chiefs fan.
100%.
And you're probably right.
Yeah.
That is Henry Cavill, a man who can turn a mustache into a training project, an unpainted model into a source of shame, and a simple question into a logical investigation that lasts far longer than expected. Henry Cavill may be Superman, Geralt, or a cold and calculating spy on screen, but away from the cameras, the most memorable version of him is still a polite, awkward nerd whose honesty makes him completely unpredictable. He does not need prepared punchlines or any special effort to make people laugh. Just give Henry a strange question, a confusing expression, or an unpainted Warhammer figure, and the rest will turn into comedy on its own. Tell us which Henry Cavill moment made you laugh the hardest, and do not forget to like and subscribe for more stars at their funniest when they are not even trying to be funny.